But I wanted to take this time to kind of dive into it and say, based on what we know so far, what is this ACOLYTE show about?
So my character, she's a powerful leader. She's a powerful leader. Yes.
I think what they think they're doing is by making it female-centered, they're going to draw in your female audience, which has been notoriously difficult. We know what Leslie Headland's opinion about this is. She wants this show to be Frozen meets Kill Bill. Does that say Lord Farquaad?
It says Yord
Fandor. Remember when they had names like Luke? Welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Wise Works podcast. All you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs.
Yes, sir.
What's up, guys?
Just chilling like a villain.
Okay.
I'm wearing a flannel. Is this flannel?
Yeah.
You do be flanneling it. I'm proud of you, Joseph.
Well, I might take it off. It's kind of warm. It's getting warm.
I'm still proud of you, even though I know someone probably got that for like Christmas or your birthday.
Nope.
And you didn't actually go and pick it out.
Oh,
no, I picked it out. I picked it out, but it was free. I picked it out from our friend Josh Gordon. I picked it out from his yard sale.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
And he gave it to me, but we still sent him Venmo money. So
I have one flannel.
Well,
I need a couple more.
I'm proud.
So, but you're proud? You're proud?
Yeah.
Is this stylish?
I feel like a proud dad right now for you.
Yeah, it looks good.
Getting a style.
It has a hood, a fake hood.
Oh, ooh. Okay.
I feel like Slim Shady.
In a flannel.
That's an old reference. Hey. Oh, something came up yesterday, and this is a really, really old internet meme.
Mm-hmm.
2007, 2009, maybe.
What of it?
But I've been asking a few people if they remember it, and everybody's saying no. Do you remember Chuck Testa?
Yes.
Nope, Chuck Testa.
Well, that was Rhett and Link. So if you didn't have Rhett and Link, if you
no, Rhett and Link, there was more than just that.
But he was popular through the Rhett and Link channel. It wasn't like an internet sensation.
He became pretty well known.
Whatever. What's the point? What's the point?
I don't know. Does anybody remember? Do you remember that?
Yes, of course.
You do.
Because I was a fan of Rhett and Link.
Why it didn't?
I didn't remember it at all.
Yeah, because of Rhett and Link. That's the main thing. I will say, speaking of Rhett and Link, they have this really interesting mythical app. All right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like their Patreon, but they created their own app for it. And it's this mythical society, and there's like a free tier or whatever. And they're doing like interesting games and interactions and stuff. I haven't pulled the app up myself, but I was just like, man, they're always thinking about new fun ways, whether it works or not, to interact with their fans.
Well, they've got.
And I just thought that was freaking cool.
I think it would be cool to do something like that, and even add like, if we added the tower on there, then that would be fun to just like interact and do things with the tower for like a Patreon, our Patreon supporters. But I don't know if we've got time to do that. We need some more hands.
Well, we definitely don't have enough time. Speaking of which, with the tower of like AI generation, so YouTube is now asking when you upload a video, does this video have the appearance of someone saying something that they did not actually say?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they're starting to crack down on some of these deep fakes or I guess AI usages of content, and they're starting to protect people's reputation or just protect their identity in some fashion inside the content. I don't know if it's to set a warning on the video or if it is to block it. I don't know yet, but it's interesting how quickly everything's evolving with AI. I know that's a constant thought, but I just feel like this year and probably next year, it's going to be so quickly moving. It's just going to be such a different world. Such a different world that we're going to live in a year from now. you know?
Mhm.
Do you are you guys nervous at all about this movement?
Uh, a little bit. I see what I can see what we're moving towards. And it kind of in the same way that we lived in an age before we relied so heavily on computers and
Yeah,
computer technology, such as phones or laptops, even smart TVs and things of that nature, tablets.
right.
It was a quick transition. It happened faster than a lot of people thought, that we moved to such easy, essentially, technology that changed everything. And I think it's going to be the same for artificial intelligence, that the move will be quick,
Mm.
and eventually we will be using it so heavily that we won't even a lot of people won't even think about what it was like before we relied on it so much.
Kind of like the internet, sort of,
Mhm.
or smartphones. It's just kind of a weird evolution because in the same way that we didn't fully understand what the internet was capable of, or a smartphone access to the internet that everyone carries around,
Yeah.
um, in the same way we didn't fully understand it, we don't understand what's going to change that AI is going to affect.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a bit of exciting and also strange. It causes a little bit of fear, I think, definite apprehension,
Yeah.
and it's
Apprehension.
just gonna be such a weird world in the next year or so because things are moving so quickly that I think there's also gonna be room. I call it kind of like analog media
Mhm.
when AI is going to be fully there and present. I think there's going to be a new resurgence in the same way that people kind of like vinyls, even though it's not
Yeah.
necessary. I think there's going to be a resurgence of people wanting to make sure that what they enjoy, whether it's podcasts or whether it's videos or whether it's really anything, they're gonna see this time before AI as nostalgic. And I think there's going to be a serious market for the creator culture that's is going to be somewhat upended by AI, but at the same time, it's probably going to grow in strength because
Mhm.
people value that, and already some people are tired of AI and things that are fake.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping that we sort of I'm hoping that it becomes more streamlined uh in the way that it can be used and simplified, so
Sure.
that we're not there's not just people making all of these crazy things, and that there's an actual purpose for um, exactly what AI will and can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And who knows exactly what it's going to be, but I think you're right. I think if once we have a clear understanding of how it's really going to affect culture and how it's going to affect our everyday lives, whether good or bad, it's it's still a tool that I think will be utilized. It's just going to be in good and bad ways.
Yeah. I saw
Um,
and I know this specifically is more of like Elon Musk and the stuff he's doing with AI to create self-driving vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a video the other day. It was like a TikTok video where a guy put in a prompt on this new software that's just come out where it says you just write a line that says create code for this purpose, like for this game or something, where a guy can walk through a forest. And it it like within like 60 seconds it wrote a huge line of code, and then it was like there's an error here where it's messed up. And usually where humans would have to go in and fix the error of why it's not working, the software, it had like three different prompts it did. It was like okay, if this is the issue, then I'll do this. If this is the issue, it'll do this. And it just like wrote a code for creating a game
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
we don't even like, no human had to do. The guy just had to put in a prompt to do it. And
Right.
so it kind of goes back to stuff that Elon Musk is working on, where he's like, to have fully self AI software, that AI has to be able to figure out the errors in itself to fix
And
them,
fix it. Yeah.
so that it can create code and create figure out what we can't do ourselves.
I was watching I don't know, it was a live like podcast or something where Chris Gore from Film Threat was talking about how AI will be instrumental in a lot of independent filmmaking
Yeah.
because there's not restrictions on it like there is in Hollywood, and how good writers will be able to write their scene, write out scenes, write out dialogue, then put it into an AI and be like, give me an alternative scene. Give me something different that
Yeah.
happens from what I've already created. So it is original creation, but just, show me something else that could happen with
Yeah.
this. And that's cool. That's
Yeah.
I think that's a good use of the software.
I mean, like Photoshop has generative fill, so it can take a picture and it will complete your picture and just give you a couple options, right? Well, video is going to have that too. If you film a part of a scene, eventually AI is just going to be able to like, you could just say like, all right, you have the starting point of this. Now use this mapping to calculate a fight scene or whatever, you know? And
Yeah.
it'll be able to generatively fill video to use the likeness, to use what it started from and create a fight scene and or anything else. And
But
so it's going to be fascinating.
right now it's so accessible that even people can use it every day. I think my mom was selling something and she gave out, it was like Chat GPT or something. I don't
Yeah.
know what she used, but she wrote like, write me an ad. Write me an ad for this, and this is the price, and this is what I'm selling, and just write me an ad. And it wrote it out for her, and it was concise, and it was, that's incredible. I do think that we're going to run into similar dangers that we've run into with technology, where people don't write as much.
Yeah.
People don't handwrite things as much.
They don't handwrite
People
anything.
people don't send letters to each other. We do lose things with this kind of stuff. So there are skills, I think, in the future that are going to be lost because how to write an ad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can tell a computer how to write it for you.
Well, writing itself is going to be out the window because writing is the easiest thing for AI to do.
Yeah.
So writing as a skill or something you get paid for, it's not a good time to major in writing or to try to get a job in writing. It's probably the worst time in history to learn writing. It just is.
Yeah,
because,
or like editing. Not editing like movies, but like editing things like a writer in that sense.
Yeah.
Editing the English language or any other language. I think we're gonna lose stuff. It just depends on what length we lose it. Because there's also a lot of pushes for legislation, amendments, or laws that like, for example, are not allowing kids to have phones in class. That's a good idea, but then you also lose the ability to access these AI softwares if you're just by yourself in class. So I think we'll still teach for a while these skills, especially in high school. But I think when it comes down to it, it's going to deteriorate because you're not going to use it in the work sector.
Right.
Yeah.
I think artists need to, I know there's a lot of artists that are kind of against the AI. I think artists need to get on board with the AI because, if a regular person with no art skills can put a few prompts into a software and it create these beautiful pieces of art, what can an artist do? How can they use this to augment their art and make it better?
Well, there's like a big what do you call it? Like someone suing. I don't know if it's GPT or which software it is, but the use of AI for art, because
Mhm,
AI itself has not created art. What it does is
mhm.
it makes art based on what it finds on the internet. So
Right.
it is essentially remixing someone else's art
Mm.
and coming up with its own idea. And that is being seen as an infringement on these artists. So maybe there is going to be some kind of art limitation when it comes to AI if this kind of thing passes.
But I think I think we're thinking about it on such a small scale. There's so many things, and this is a small thing, but um, AI as a teacher, right? Teach me how to draw hands.
Hmm.
Teach me how to draw faces. Teach me how to create art, and it will be able to show you in great detail and replay for you perfectly over and over and over again how to draw, how to
Right.
paint, how to do this or that. And I think that's where a lot of the power is going to come from in AI, that it will be able to teach.
Yeah.
It's almost like if we took AI and said, "Hey, AI, recreate the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, but add Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor."
Yeah.
How
Are
would
you
that
trying to
look?
transition? Are you trying
Is
to
that our first
transition?
segment? That'd be
No, it's
fantastic.
not. It's not.
Ah, no, that would be fantastic.
This
All
is what
right.
happens when we don't look at the slides before we go into the podcast.
All right. So you guys saw the trailer for the Acolyte, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the thing is, obviously, it's getting huge criticism online,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what we definitely can share our own criticisms.
Of
But I
course.
wanted to take this time to kind of dive into it and say, based on what we know so far, what
Yeah.
is this Acolyte show about? Right?
She, it's about
Let's
Jedi.
we could theorize, we could bring up stuff that's correct.
I think it's
Um,
about Leslie Headland. I think in
well,
the interview, she made it pretty plain what it's about.
all right, so let's read a quick synopsis if you guys don't matter, which I hate this poster.
Yeah.
You
Um,
hate it? I actually like it.
no, it makes me think of something, especially with it's featuring all these women.
Yeah.
Oh,
A
no,
little bit.
excuse me. Not the trailer. I like this poster. I looked at the poster and thought, I like this poster.
No,
What do you
I
think of
don't
this
like
poster?
this
You don't?
poster.
You know
No.
what? If
I like the
the
poster. I don't like
if
the trailer.
if the paint there had been blue, I'd have been that'd
Well,
have
it's
been
supposed to be
it- it-
blood.
right. But
Yeah.
if it had been blue in that sort of same look, nobody would think of the negative connotations.
Yeah. All right. So The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. A former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. I realized I made this too small. I'm having a hard time seeing it.
Look, this synopsis is not a bad synopsis
No.
for something that would be an interesting viewing experience.
Mhm.
The your protagonist and their master searching for what is happening, why, who's killing who's making these things happen. It's a lot of what the prequel series is about, is
Yeah.
who is behind all of these things that are happening. Who is the ultimate force? Is it Count Dooku? Is it, whose master was Darth Maul? These things.
Yep.
But I don't know that it's going to be executed in the way that this is written?
Well, there's a few theories. I watched Star Wars Theory video on this. There's some pretty interesting theories about what this could be with some evidence to back it up. And we'll go over those. But first, let's take a look at the creators and actors and get to know them really quickly. All right.
Yeah.
So obviously we have Leslie Headland. All right. She's the creator.
Yeah. Former assistant to Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So that's I don't know how she got this job, but she did.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows how she got this job. I've looked at a lot of people talking about this. Nobody knows how she got this job.
She's the creator. There's a weird movement. It happened with Andor and a couple other Star Wars projects where they're kind of referring to the creator. Doesn't necessarily mean they directed it. Doesn't necessarily mean they produced it. Because like I can't remember his name. Tony, I think, is his first name. Tony Gilroy, I believe, for Andor. He was the creator for Andor, but he wasn't the director, right?
Right.
And so it's, I don't know if they're saying they wrote it, they produced it, maybe they also directed it. I think in this case, she's also directing it. But she's the creator for this story. The protagonist is going to be May. All right.
And is she like the Sith apprentice?
I think she's going to be the one who teams up with her former master. Pretty sure that's what this is going to be. All right.
Okay.
I don't think she's. I think what happened is, my best guess is, if you see the trailer, they kind of paint her in kind of like a rogue, dark mystery way.
Yeah, like maybe she's been dabbling in some of these dark side forces.
Yeah,
coming about.
Her master is going to be in Indara, who's was also in, what's her name, Carrie something. She was in the Matrix movies.
I hate to be this guy,
Trinity.
But yeah, she was Trinity in the Matrix. I hate to be this guy, but where are the men?
So there aren't
They'll
any.
Be evil.
Well, there are some men. There's just no white men. There's only one white guy. Which
I hate to
cover
say that because we know we don't need men. We don't. We don't have to have men in this to make it good, but it just feels so. Just woman forward. It's like, this is dumb.
And there's nothing.
It seems dumb.
There's nothing wrong with women forward, ideas. But we know what the purpose behind them are in Hollywood. I don't mind the idea of the master and apprentice being women. We've seen Anakin and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. It's like the kind of actress she is. She brings a sort of Qui-Gon Jinn energy to this master character, which I'm not against. We know what they're doing, and we know that they don't know how to execute it correctly. We know that they don't know how to write these women to make them, frankly, to make them women.
Well, let me show you guys a quick video clip, and this is with Jodie Turner-Smith, her thoughts during a Star Wars Day interview about this very idea around men and this show. So let's just watch her. Let me skip forward. So listen to her thoughts.
Now, can we talk a little bit about the characters that you're playing in the Acolyte? Well, you want?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll keep it Vegas. Jodie, can you tell us about your character?
Okay, well, let me try to talk about this without getting fired or murdered. So my character, she's a powerful leader. She's a powerful leader. Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
All right. With that, does that make you feel happy?
Well,
Mm.
not really.
Mm.
I will say the reason what she's saying isn't that Star Wars the story is male centered. She's saying Star Wars the fan base is male centered.
Mhm.
Oh wait,
Um,
is that what
that
she was saying? Can we?
No,
no.
it's what read into it is what she's trying
I'm,
to.
I'm saying if you read between the lines, Star Wars, the fan base and the people who love it are very male centered. And so I think what they think they're doing is by making it female centered, they're going to draw in your female audience, which has been notoriously difficult. Very few properties have actually been able to do that. And lots of those are dramas, musicals, rom-coms, Barbie.
Yeah. And you can't do that with Star Wars. You can't abandon the fan base and demonize it. You
We're
just
Because
going
can't
for
do
Bud
that.
Light.
we know from statistics that men are the ones that consume primarily are the ones that consume superheroes, high fantasy, action and adventure. And Star Wars is all three of those. It is uh action and adventure, it's high fantasy, um and the other one that I mentioned.
So Jodie Turner Smith, she plays this character, Mother Anicia. All right. And she's kind of, if you see, she has a posse of women. So she's like, all right, they're basically leaning into really heavily the witch side of Star Wars. They did it with Ahsoka, and they're
Mhm.
doing it again with this. And this is another interview that what she had to say. So she was asked, "Could you tell us about your character?" She said, "Oh, you know what I'm allowed to say? Guess what I'm allowed to say? What
Nothing.
I'm that I'm really powerful. I use the Force, but I'm not a Jedi or Sith. Do what do what you will with that information." So she is a
Wait,
witch lady who taps
There's
into the Force. That's
there's
basic.
never been this
Well, okay, so
witch until Disney got a hold of it, and then they made it like every other Disney princess movie.
well, this is so yes, there is some witch lore in the Star Wars literature. However, it was never leaned into too heavily because of the choices. And the reason they're leaning into this witch thing we saw with
It's
Ahsoka,
Disney.
we're seeing with this, it's not just because it's Disney, it's for what Wyatt said. It's because women are fascinated. You're talking about people who dabble in like who find stories about covens and stuff.
Mhm.
It's women. They're interested
Yeah.
in those
Women.
type of stories, and so they're catering to women. And so they're like saying, let's get rid of Jedi, let's get rid of not completely, but let's get rid of like the focus being on these
Sith.
the Sith and all this, and that let's do like this middle ground where there's witches and covens and like woman groups
They
who
say it
utilize the Force but aren't a Jedi or a
they
Sith,
say it
right?
in the trailer. It's not about good and evil, which is what Star Wars has always been about.
Yeah.
Good and evil. It's about power. And
Yeah.
power can be gray area. It can be whatever you see power as. And it's amorphous. The Hollywood has gotten away from this idea of good versus evil.
I
Yeah,
would love
yeah.
to see a trailer from like the 80s when the original Star Wars came out where they actually advertised it like it's about good and evil, and then you switch to this and it's like it's not about good and evil.
It's not
And it's like,
about good and
what?
evil.
They've literally changed what Star Wars
Mhm.
was. I would love to see someone edit something like that together.
So just real quickly, I want to share before we look at the rest of the characters. I want to share a theory that the Star Wars theory fandom and himself has that this is potentially about a girl who's probably the protagonist was taken from.
Make her lame and gay.
She was taken by the Jedi Order because she's Force sensitive from this kind of tribal-ish group of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this girl has a sister, okay? And a theory that's going around is that this sister was also Force sensitive, just not at the time the Jedi took her sister. And so she, through hardship of life, gets hardened, gets bitter, gets taken in by someone who's a Sith Lord and trained, and that if you follow the trailer, right, that end red lightsaber, they're throwing it around, very powerful individual, might be the sister of this protagonist, May. That's a
Right.
theory that's going around the internet, and May gets with her former Jedi master, where she left the Jedi Order when she
Well,
was years ago, right?
we know what Leslie Headland's opinion about this
What
is
is
that she wants this show to be Frozen meets Kill Bill. I don't know if
Right.
you guys have seen that interview, but
Yeah,
that's
I
what
saw
she
the
said.
interview.
And if you've seen the interview where she talks about Frozen and how it's a love story, but one that doesn't center on romantic love between a man and a woman, but the
It's
love between
two sisters.
family and siblings and sisters, which I appreciate about Frozen. That is something that they did that is good. There should be a strong, powerful bond between family, but um I think she saw that and was like, that's what everything should be about.
mm,
Hmm. And
Um,
and some people say that the Acolyte logo, the O, is not necessarily a ring, but it's rather an eclipse. So like light and dark meet. So if you look at the logo, there are some
oh,
theories that
okay,
this is
yeah.
actually an eclipse, like a moon eclipse or whatever, and not
right.
like a ring or whatever. So they're pretty light. I think the sister theory is a pretty strong one.
Yeah.
But let's
But
let's
like, even if you go back to original Star Wars, there's no point where the Emperor is like, you can still be a Jedi. You
no.
can still be a Jedi. There's no point where Darth Vader is like, you know, um, you can still be a Jedi, even when he says, "Join me, and we can overthrow the Emperor."
Mhm.
It's still in the thinking of a Sith,
Yes.
of
Mhm.
power, of good and evil, and in the end, when the Emperor is like, "All right, now kill him, and complete your journey to the dark side." There's
Yeah.
no middle
Yeah.
ground. There's no middle ground,
Well,
and Luke
Ahsoka came
makes
in.
his decision.
Ahsoka came in and changed that when they made her a
Right.
gray Jedi.
Dumb. Stop.
But that wasn't a part of the original plan for
Right.
the Jedi and the Sith,
There,
right? Dark
but there
versus
there
evil,
is
or light
conflict
versus
there.
dark.
You can see that Luke is being drawn towards the dark side.
And it's
Um,
shaky ground because
it is.
it's losing control, and then you access this new dark power that
Mhm.
on its surface seems more powerful
Right.
because
But there's a
um
clear choice when,
yeah.
when he says, "No, I'm a Jedi. I'm good. I am not a murderer.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to accept your power." And then there's consequences for that.
Hmm.
It's all about the choice. It's not about riding this line, this middle ground of being whatever you want to be.
Well, look, with like Mother Anicia here,
Mhm.
they these women in Star Wars Disney absolutely love the idea of saying, "Oh, there's no good and bad. There's
Mhm.
just how you interpret it. And there's other ways to use the Force, and other people can access it and not necessarily, become a Sith or a Jedi, but in fact just become a freaking
But
witch
when
queen."
you're writing, so the Force is very clearly good and evil. When you're writing something like Andor, where it's regular people doing these things that are on the surface, it's like, yeah, that's murder, but they're doing it for this cause that's greater than themselves. Then
Yeah.
you can ride that line
Of
and
moral
create
questionable
of moral
integrity, right?
questionability.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with the good and the evil, which are the big forces and the big powers, we don't want that.
And the whole point of the Skywalker Anakin thing was to bring balance to the Force,
Hmm.
because it was so the stark. It's almost like, if you take politics, it's like the extreme left, extreme right of the universe was there, and
And
there's this really you might say there's like this imbalance that was taking place, where there's there's Sith lords that are in power or whatever, and then
Mhm.
there's Jedi that have questionable actions, but ultimately are soldiers of protection,
But
right?
I mean, even in the even on that idea, the Jedi were in power in the prequel series, and uh, if you look at it from a certain point of view, Anakin does bring a certain balance to the Force. He tips the scales in favor of the Sith, but everybody everybody since then has always seen the balance between the Sith and the Jedi as they are equally um in power and doing different things. There's always Sith, there's always Jedi, there's always conflict. But that's, I don't think, what it was supposed to be about.
No.
What does bring balance to the Force mean? It's to make things right. And
Yeah, to
and
make them right. And I don't think what it meant was to make this gray middle ground that
mhm.
witches can now access
Yeah. Yeah.
or use it to become a witch queen.
Mhm.
Um, this is one of the main men in the show,
Master
Master
Saul.
Soul.
Mhm.
So he's played by the guy who was on Squid Games.
Oh.
Yeah.
The lead guy in Squid
Yeah,
Games.
yeah.
You see him a lot in the trailer. He's the opening voice. He's a Jedi. He teaches Padawans in that opener. And then we also get this other
Not the
Asian
younglings.
fella.
Discount Ezra Miller.
He does look like a little
Well,
discounted.
the hair does, but
Mm.
he doesn't look like that in real life at all. That's like hair choice for the character. His
Mhm.
name is Manny Jacinto,
J-
Jacinto, whatever.
I think it's
Um,
Jacinto.
Jacinto.
Yeah.
He plays a character Quimer or whatever.
I think
Grimmer, yeah.
it could be Chimer. Chimere.
Chimer.
Chimere.
I don't know.
So
Yeah.
something interesting about this character that Manny says in an interview is while we don't know much about his character or whatever, the actor did tell Collider that he won't be wielding a lightsaber like some of his co-stars. So he's definitely force sensitive.
He's a former smuggler as well, so they can't come up with new ideas for characters. You have to be either a Jedi, a smuggler, a bounty hunter, a Mandalorian,
Mm,
a
Mhm.
stormtrooper, or a politician. There's
New
no other
character.
professions in the galaxy of Star Wars.
what was Andor's profession? He was basically just a what was he officially before he went on the he wasn't a smuggler, he was more a thief, right?
He was more, yeah,
No.
he was a kind of like a thief or assassin-ish character.
Yeah, but he was actually engaging, and I don't again
He was part
Andor,
of the he was a rebel.
he was a rebel, but
That's
he
the
was
other
brought
category you fall into.
well he was
Rebel.
brought into the rebellion almost
Mhm.
kicking and screaming
Yeah.
because he really tried to avoid it. And I think that was the beautiful thing about Andor is because you took someone who was just a regular dude that was pretty decent at what he does,
Mhm.
kind of shady from a planet that's not all the planets we've seen millions of times.
Mhm.
And then they throw him into this movement. He doesn't really want to be a part of the movement, but it pays well initially. And
Yeah.
then he finds purpose through interactions through 12 solid episodes of that season.
Is it 12? I
Freaking
thought it was
yeah,
9.
it's like 12, dude. Tony Gilroy wrote a really good Star Wars story with Andor.
Yeah, I
Um,
like the Prison Break arc a lot.
it's like you have this awesome
Talking about Andor again.
heist
Mhm.
story, and then they're like, all right, the next half is gonna be like a prison break, and we're gonna bring in Andy Serkis. Friggin'
Yeah.
awesome, man. I it breaks my heart that Andor doesn't get more love than it deserves.
It breaks my heart.
It does.
Over here. Disney
All right.
betrayed me.
So this is the only white guy in the movie, and he plays a Wookiee.
So, okay, I love that one race of I guess we would call them aliens. I don't know if that's the right
Mm-hmm.
terminology, but one race of creatures in the Star Wars universe was beloved, Chewbacca. So they've created how many characters
How many
based off
Wookiee
someone
characters?
else? Yes, because
Well,
back to the thing, they can't make anything new. They can't give us someone new. They have to
You
give us
could
the
give
same thing.
us an entirely Wookiee story that takes place on Kashyyyk.
that'd be
And
really freaking cool.
it would all be in what is it, Chickawook?
Yeah,
It would all
something like
be in
that.
Chickawook,
different
and you would
language?
have to read subtitles. Why can't we have that?
Well, but give us something different. We've kind of seen a lot of Wookiee stuff too.
I mean,
All right.
if we're going Wookiee, I want to go Wookiee all the way. I want to see an entire movie or show that takes place on the Wookiee planet, and it's about them hunting, and it's just cool stuff like that. They don't need to be showing up just everywhere all the time.
Okay, so the actor Junis, are these actors with their names?
Mm.
Junis Sutamo. He's a white guy. At least
Yeah.
he appears to be a white guy.
Do we have an actual picture of him? I'm just curious.
I mean, I
know
could show you the
this is his
IMDb.
character, but I'm
I
just
could show
curious.
you the
I wanna-
IMDb if you want. You so
Yeah, I
you want
wanna-
to see
I want
what
to see the face to the character because we're seeing a Wookiee here. I know that's what we're seeing. Who's
All
actually
right.
playing him?
So this guy right here, Junis.
Oh, okay. Can you click on him?
How much you want to bet that's pronounced Jonas?
Jonas, maybe. So this is the guy who's playing the Wookiee. He's probably got casted because he's tall.
Oh, he's from
Um,
Finland.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why his name is weird.
I mean, we got
It's probably Jonas.
Jonas. All right, so
It's
listen.
probably Jonas.
So Kelnaka is a Wookiee Jedi.
Mm.
He brings his own energy. He brings his own energy, and he is taught on the ways of the Force. So we're gonna have a Jedi style Wookiee here in this show.
So this is the issue. He says, like, it's always been a dream of mine to play a character in Star Wars that can wield the Force, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, me too. But that's not why you should be hiring actors. Their aspirations shouldn't be to be a character that can wield the Force.
Right.
You know, an actor's desires should be to play a character to the best of my ability.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
Not because I've always dreamed about being this character. I've always dreamed about being in Star Wars. You are not in Star Wars. You should not be in Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right. So let's quickly roll through the last couple characters.
Does that say Lord Farquaad?
It says Yord
Fandor.
All right. So he's gonna
That's
play some
funny.
Jedi guy. We don't know.
yeah.
Jackie Lone.
Mm.
So
We
she's
got
actually
Aiden Smith over here.
Remember when
Shit.
they had names like Luke?
Yeah, like
So-
they had names like Luke and Ben and Han and Leia.
yeah.
So Jackie is played by Daphne Keane. She played the little girl in the Logan movie.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
who? What did she play?
She played the girl in Logan
He played X-23, dude.
X-23.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's her. But she has on
Ah.
alien makeup.
She's
Um,
she's kind of been in she's come make an appearance back in Deadpool 3 apparently. And now she's
Cool.
in this. She's kind of doing a comeback.
It's been
with
like
her.
7 years since
Yeah.
Logan
She
was
hasn't been in
released.
much until like she's kind of coming back.
I always thought if they were gonna do something with X-23, you know, I always said wait a while, wait till she's older, and then you can have
Yeah.
a cool female Logan if you want.
yeah.
I'm kind of curious if maybe she like I don't know, took some time to like finish up school or go to college. I don't know how old she is or something like that. And then now she's coming back kind of.
Well,
like, some people do
look,
it, but some child
she
actors.
probably just got. She's probably been working just smaller roles or something.
Mm.
So Leslie said, the creator said, this is the only character from the High Republic that is returning. All right, or that's
Mhm.
in the show. Everybody else is new from the High Republic books or comics or whatever they were,
Right.
right? And she's played by Rebecca Henderson, the character of Vernestra. She, at a certain point, uses a whip lightsaber, right?
Yeah.
And she's IMDb only slates her for one episode, and I think she was in the trailer where she's like entering a
She
Jedi
dies.
room, and she like is using the Force to open. It's like a wide shot. I think it's in the trailer. One shot of her is in the trailer, but this close up picture is a picture of her from a Star Wars website.
So I know also that, you know, the extended lore, the books before they were decanonized by Disney, I'm sure Leslie Headland has said, I saw an interview that they're just sort of salvaging bits and pieces from the extended universe books that they've decanonized. I mean, Dave Filoni did the same thing, especially with like Thrawn and stuff, and just butchering kind of these stories that were written before they were decanonized, and being like, look, see, remember berries?
Yeah.
Remember
So
this?
listen to this reasoning behind why Leslie included Vernestra character into this story for who knows how long. IMDb already has incorrect information. I've cross-referenced, so she might be in more than one episode, but she might only be in one episode. So listen to her reasoning for adding this character. I really focused on Vern. Vern was a character that really jumped out at me immediately as someone that I wanted to see as an arc for where we were with the Jedi when we came into the story. A character that started out as a prodigy, someone powerfully connected to the Force. This is weird. Almost in love with the Force, but also sassy enough to make a lightsaber into a whip. So she basically thought she was kind of a sassy, fun girl character, and so she included it. That's why she added this character from the High Republic material into this story.
A sassy Jedi. That's the most crazy statement I've ever heard.
This sounds like a horrible show. This is just going to be terrible. All these characters just sound terrible, and the story itself sounds kind of dull.
I'm gonna be honest. I've seen so much about it. I desperately want to watch the first episode, or like the first 2 episodes.
Can it be as bad?
So intriguing.
Can it be as bad as Ahsoka?
No. Let's go to we need to go further back. Obi-Wan.
Can it be as bad?
Better than Obi-Wan.
Can it be as bad as? Well, the thing is, you're right. Can it be as bad as Obi-Wan? Well, first off, there's no legacy characters, so they can't screw legacy characters.
No, it cannot be as bad as Obi-Wan because, like you said, Obi-Wan is a legacy character, and they even brought in Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor, and
just nerfed him
and nerfed him hard. Yeah.
Why?
No,
we're gonna make this story about a youngling. Actually, just Obi-Wan is present.
Yeah,
freaking so dumb. So it can't be as bad because they're not going to destroy legacy characters in the show. They're just going to
destroy the legacy of the High Republic.
Yeah, but they already are doing that by literally not telling the High Republic.
How much you want to bet that the Jedi are going to be good on the surface, but they're actually just like these controlling.
Well, I think that's what the trailer was trying to tell us. Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that if the theory about the 2 sisters is correct, they're definitely going to paint the Jedi in a negative light, being like, well, they basically forced this sister to come with them and removed her from her family, right?
Yeah, and
it's the Jedi's fault that these sisters were ripped apart, and they're gonna like kind of deny the Sith and deny the Jedi to find love and sisterhood again. You know what I mean?
That's a fault of George Lucas for writing the Jedi as these like people who are in this exclusive sort of club rather
Right.
than as this almost Mason-like society where it's lots of people like generals and politicians who studied to be Jedi as they grew up and are sort of these secret knights.
Right.
That's where you made a mistake.
I think this story is gonna obviously be annoying because of how, not because it's focused on women characters, but because how intentional they are to not have men in these parts. You know what I mean? Especially white men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're being so intentional to make sure there's no white men here. The only white man is a Wookiee. They covered up his whiteness. It's really freaking gonna be annoying. Apparently, IMDb says that Dean Charles Chapman, who plays in Game of Thrones as Joffrey's younger brother, he's playing a character Turban. It says IMDb says one character, so there's a white guy that could potentially be in here, and then there's some other white guys that are like one episode, but they're not known actors.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably going to play like some mobster at a bar's henchman or something like that. You know what I mean? That's going to be the point of their roles. So that's going to be the biggest annoying. I think that when it comes to the trailer, when it comes to seeing the cast list, when it comes to hearing all the intention behind these characters, the most annoying thing right off the bat, without getting into is the story actually going to be good, or are they bastardizing Star Wars yet again? The most annoying thing is just the intentionality to be like, we cannot have white men in this show, especially not one that's painted in a positive light.
Even I'm sure I mentioned that, you know, the white man will be the villain. I don't think they even want him to be the villain. They want the villain to be some diverse character, because the villain will have good intentions.
Yeah,
they see what they are doing as right and are powerful because of what they overcame.
So the villains are probably, I don't know if there's going to be a strong villain. I think ultimately because they're subverting storytelling. And so I think we're going to have soft villains, meaning like Master Soy or whatever, or Soul. They're going to kind of demonize him as a character because he's a Jedi Master, right? So they're going to kind of probably say, oh, he's kind of in the wrong because he's a Jedi Master and he probably
Did you say Master Soy?
Soy, but it's Soul.
That's funny.
Soul.
He did.
They're going to probably demonize him, who's a man, right?
Yeah.
But he's not going to be a hardline villain. And then the Sith, if they do the sister thing and the other sister is trained by a Sith, they're probably going to make the Sith a white guy and demonize him as well. So they're kind of demonizing both ends to kind of have this good and light mixture of love between sisters. So it's not going to be like hard villains. There's going to be problematic characters that really cause a problem that they're fighting against. But ultimately, I don't think there's going to be a real villain. It's going to be a redemptive story for the Sith sister, and it's going to be a get off your high horse story, maybe for
that
May,
sister.
right?
What do you think? I don't even know. Disney is just, they're self-sabotaging themselves.
Well, they think this is great.
They think
They're
this is
delusional.
great,
They think
but
this is awesome.
They're not dumb. They're a very smart company that has been around for a.
There's no more smart people working at Disney.
Okay, but they have to put 2 and 2 together and be like, okay, our track record in the past 5 to 8 years have been really bad. We can't do the same thing.
Well, Bob Iger's acknowledged it, and he keeps saying they're going to shift, but they're not
though.
They're not shifting. So
It's like they can't put 2 and 2 together and say 2 and 2 is not 3. It's nothing.
Look, Bob Iger came back, but I think he's already
that's not math, but
he's already in his mind out again, like out for good. You know, he doesn't. I don't think Bob Iger sees a path forward without a complete explosion of the entertainment sector of Disney.
Yeah.
I don't think he really has hope for it. There is no hope. There's no new hope.
Well,
It's for Disney.
he's supported Bob Iger. George Lucas has outwardly supported Bob Iger in all of his decisions that he's making regarding Star Wars. So
George
no,
Lucas is also disconnected.
he is not a champion of Star Wars and what it could be. Before we move on,
Yeah, let's move on.
have you guys read any of the comments from the trailer?
Some of it, yeah, they're some funny
Incredible.
stuff.
They're hilarious. It's literally just people being like,
How many likes are on the video? Because I heard there's about 200,000 dislikes.
170K.
Okay, so there's
likes.
170K.
It doesn't show dislikes on YouTube, and I don't have the
No.
I don't have the plugin to show me the approximation of the dislikes. But
The last video I watched, someone that had the plugin was saying that the dislikes was getting close to 300,000.
people just commenting like the part where Leslie Headland says it's forcing time and then showed a bunch of teen actresses in Harvey Weinstein's office was truly one of Hollywood's greatest moments. It's like, or close your eyes, and the one alien's like, I can't. Someone is killing Jedi. Yeah, Disney. What do you close your eyes? What do you see? I see today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
Hey, would
Great.
you guys be willing? Would you guys be willing to do the Patreon shout out really quickly? I have to pee. So
yeah.
do the Patreon shout out, and I'll be right back.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna switch to that slide.
Now that he's gone,
Huh?
I was making a joke. It's okay.
Oh, well,
ahead.
thank you, Shelby, for being a Patreon supporter. Shelby supports us. She pays $4 for our one tier that we have on Patreon, but she gets exclusive content. She gets watch parties. She gets this podcast a week early. So she gets a bunch of stuff. If you guys want that, then go check out the Patreon. But we're also on YouTube. You can get a YouTube membership and get everything like that on top of it, I guess.
Thank you, everybody who's on the Patreon. And we really would appreciate if you guys check out the Patreon, check out the exclusive content on YouTube. We've said it's $3.99, $4. And, you get all of our exclusive content. And, you're not breaking your bank. You can still get a coffee as well.
Hey, thank you guys. I think I'm gonna have to cut out the part where my baby comes in. I don't want my baby on the internet.
It wasn't so much that she came in. It was more that we didn't know what to say. Well, our improv skills failed us.
Well, you guys just need to work on it a little bit because the real professional podcasters just roll with it, right?
I forgot how to improv.
I roll with it.
You saw baby and you're like, oh.
I'd be rolling.
So I wanted to ask you guys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Shelby. I wanted to say, guess what is been confirmed that's coming back as a movie?
Backstreet Boys? Backstreet's back?
Unfortunately, no.
As long as there is music.
I saw
they'll be
this.
back.
What was it? Oh, Peaky Blinders. Yes, I did see this. Yes.
So Peaky Blinders movie is shooting later this year around September, and Cillian Murphy is definitely returning.
Cool.
So this is exciting news.
It's exciting, but also I loved the show Peaky Blinders. It was a good show. I'm not a fan of the show and then making a movie because they don't have enough to make another show. They just want to make a movie.
Well, it's because
it's never been great.
It's
I love
because
Psych
a studio still has the rights to the intellectual property, and they're like, we got to do something else.
Yeah,
we want to still make money off of this.
Look, I think so. Peaky Blinders is a very well written show, and written and created by Stephen Knight. And Cillian said, if Stephen comes to me with a really good script, I'll definitely come back to the project. And since they're coming back, this article is basically saying he must have laid down a killer script.
Yeah.
Right? I think even though this is it's a movie to continue or to wrap up one of the two, the story of Peaky Blinders, I think it's going to be a great time. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a really high
I
quality
mean, they
film.
did the same thing with the TV show Sharp. If you guys don't know,
Mhm.
Sharp is a TV show about a
And Sight.
marksman in the French military back during
Mhm.
the Napoleonic Wars. Sean Bean plays Sharp, and in the movie, they made a movie after the show, and to wrap things up as well. And you know what they tend to do in movies is kill a lot of the legacy characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't. They did that in Sharp, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be really looking forward to this a ton.
No, not really. But you didn't finish Peaky anyway.
I haven't finished
You
it.
have not finished it.
I've watched through Peaky twice, and it's a fun time.
I think I need to go back in now that I've spent some time away with some fresh
Yeah.
eyes.
I think you'll appreciate it.
What would you call that? Is definitely a trope, Wyatt. What would you call this trope of the hero does not want to be the hero, but he's forced into it by family or by just unwanted choices. Like they don't choose to be the hero, but they're forced to. They just want to be.
Yeah, I don't know that
It's a Wonderful Life, and It's a Wonderful Life is kind of, in my opinion, what started it. Maybe it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
I don't know that I don't know the exact name, but there is a trope of that, and it's kind of like the what is it? You don't have, what's the word I'm looking for here?
no choices.
No. It's leadership. You know, a good leader is one that has leadership thrust upon them.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the trope.
Yeah. Peaky was definitely that, and Cillian Murphy's character, which remind me of his name. I don't know why I'm forgetting it.
Tommy Shelby.
Thomas Shelby.
Yeah, Tommy Shelby was definitely that was the trope, but it felt good, and everybody loves Cillian. Cillian's great.
Well, the thing
And
is,
so-
Thomas Shelby and the family were not good people.
no,
The thing is, though, they were working to fight against worse people or
And
people that were
they
trying
were
to
more
destroy
for
the
the-
family.
yeah, they were more for the people.
Sort of. I mean, they definitely, by
Yeah.
a forceful hand, controlled the people with their authority, and through, brute force with Arthur being the
So-
mad dog of the family.
The quote is, some are born with greatness, some have greatness thrust upon them.
Sure.
Mhm.
I believe it's by William Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. He's another character that kind of has that going for him.
Dalton on Roadhouse.
Yeah. So he is, at the end of the film, we're going to do a review of the Jake Gyllenhaal, Conor McGregor Roadhouse. And
I have a lot to say about
I
this.
think we all do.
Yeah.
But
so
the interesting thing forgive me, audience, I didn't watch the original Roadhouse.
So-
Okay.
in preparation for this coming out on last Thursday, I guess, as of recording this and it coming out, I watched the Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze's again because it's on Max right now, and it's a good time. It's a great time.
Wait,
It's
I'm
so
sorry.
cheesy, but it's a great time.
Joe, you haven't seen the original Roadhouse?
Nope. I sure haven't. But I understand the premise.
No, you
Mm.
don't.
No, you don't.
All right, fine. I don't. But that doesn't matter. We're talking about
Does
this
matter.
new Roadhouse remake that's kind of a remix version of it, okay? We're not reviewing the original Roadhouse. We're reviewing
You're right.
this one.
Yes.
So, interesting thing about this is they end the story with Dalton being not a hero, but also not a villain, right?
Mhm.
And he rolling your eyes. All right, let's go through it. Overall, 1 out of 10. Wyatt?
5?
2.
No.
I gave it a
Yes.
5 as well.
A 5. There was things that I really liked in it. I liked Jake Gyllenhaal and his acting, but I didn't like, and I know what they were doing with the story of just as a broad thing, spoilers for anybody. It's clear what this movie's about, but so the original was Patrick Swayze's character was almost a professional bouncer / club promoter.
He was a fixer.
Yeah, he was a fixer
Yeah.
then. And in this, it was like Jake Gyllenhaal's a fighter, and then because he's good at fighting, they brought him in as a bouncer. And it was
Mhm.
like, yeah, but he has no experience with clubs and bars and that. And so it was almost a different story in that regard, but then yet the same
Yeah,
story.
there was a very clear difference between the two Daltons, where the original Dalton, he goes into the Roadhouse, which in the original is called the Double Deuce, and not only does he work on the keeping the bad elements out, he forces the bad elements out of the bar itself. So
like he fires a bunch of people,
and he fires a bunch of people.
Well, not a bunch. He fires like 4 people, but yeah.
In this, they're kind of like the Roadhouse is perfect, and all of the issues is everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so is it a problem if you're doing a new story, a new take on Roadhouse? It's not like Roadhouse is a novel.
No.
Is it a problem that they did a different version of Roadhouse here?
It's not a problem. Okay, so it's not a problem that they do a different version of Dalton. This Dalton, I like what they were going with, is like he's got these issues. He's afraid of his own
capabilities.
He's suicidal, and he keeps this kind of happy-go-lucky feel about his whole personality. He's a pushover to the point of, in regular conversations, he's a pushover.
Sure.
Because he knows what he's capable of, and he doesn't want to be that person. There's nothing wrong with the writing of that character. It's the execution that was the issue.
Yeah. So overall, that's why I'm giving it a 5. Because like I kind of liked the new spin. I even liked that it was in Key West. The tropical element of things gave it a new vibe.
And the Florida vibe was fun.
We don't see that a lot. But then there's some small things that I don't like. And the funniest thing, I just want to acknowledge this because this made me laugh so hard. The guy picks up his phone, the bad guy, at one point, and his caller ID says dad. And he answers it, and it's the prison. It says, "Do you want to accept this call from prison?" And so why does he have his dad caller ID he has the prison as
caller ID for his
dad on his phone, which is the funniest thing.
So
let's just say this: Conor McGregor was so silly.
He was
not a good actor. No, and he was so silly in this character.
This the whole time.
And almost look, someone put it this way, and I actually kind of agree. It is so bad. Conor McGregor is so bad and so silly and so cringy on screen. It's almost fun.
It's almost fun. Yeah, it is. So let me. There's a lot. There's a reason I gave it a 2 is because there's a lot of issues I have, and the primary one is dialogue. Right. Dialogue is this movie's biggest shortcoming.
Yeah.
It's as if the writers thought in every scene that they were doing something clever with the dialogue. It was as if they were trying to write casual conversation. But that's not how movie writing works. You don't write as if they're talking like we talk every day. You write dialogue in a manner that is for movies. And then the actors themselves turn it into believable dialogue.
So I'm not pushing back from that. I would agree the dialogue was not great. But also like Jake Gyllenhaal was the only, I'm going to put this in quotes, actor in this movie. Everybody else was, Conor McGregor. He's not an actor. He's not traditionally been on screen doing these acting roles for years. So he's not perfected that. Even like there was quite a few I noticed early, not quite a few. There was a couple UFC fighters in this movie, and so like a lot of this was kind of UFC, kind of that side of, I guess, business. Kind of it's almost like they said, let's make a movie, and that's what this is. So they're
Yeah,
not actors, not a lot of actors except for Jake Gyllenhaal in this.
the only other person who delivered their lines, I think, with uh any bit of like believability was Mo. The guy,
Mhm.
the comedy relief villain boy who gets his arm broken in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Right.
He delivers his comedy lines very well. The Frankie, the owner of the Roadhouse, delivers her lines pretty well.
I also liked the younger bouncer kid.
Yeah, Billy was all right.
He was a good. I've seen him in a few things. I don't know what exactly, but I've definitely seen him act before.
But
Billy has a dark. He had, it was hard for me to look at him as an actor because he kind of in You season 4.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a weird freaking character.
Oh,
It really
but
it really put a
but
bad taste in my mouth.
he was
so
good in this movie.
ultimately, the story is about um Dalton in the end kind of losing it and becoming that person that he doesn't want to be in order to save people.
Mhm.
Um, even with even in the original, even with the town in danger, even with the girl he loves in danger,
Mhm.
um, Dalton decides it's not worth becoming that person, and so he decides to leave. What makes him stay isn't the kidnapping of the girl. It's that they kill his best friend and mentor. And in this movie, there is
Mhm.
no point where he has that really big thing where somebody dies.
Yeah.
He goes straight to murdering people and framing cops and stealing money and blowing up boats and without that conflict, which I feel like the movie really needed. I think personally, had Brant killed Billy or the dad of the little girl,
Yeah.
that would
Would have
have been
worked.
enough. Yeah. The reason he comes back is because they blow up the bookstore
Yeah.
or
The
they burn
bookstore.
down the bookstore, but nobody died.
No.
Nobody that he's close to in the roadhouse, the
Charlie and her dad.
bouncers, the little girl, nobody dies.
Either that or the younger bouncer kid like maybe dies. I don't know.
That's what I was
From
saying. Billy, yeah,
yeah,
Billy
Billy.
should have died.
Billy.
Billy, if they had killed Billy because Billy was a nice kid,
Mhm.
because he was learning more techniques from Dalton. There really should have been a good conflict in there, and they failed on accounts of
Yeah.
storytelling, on accounts of dialogue, on counts
Okay.
of character development.
So as far as just an action movie though,
It was
I
fun.
think it could be enjoyed and it'd be
Yeah, yeah.
fun.
No, it was
If you don't
fun.
come at it if you don't come at
It
it
was
with
fun.
expectations from the original or intelligent dialogue, but you say this is going to be an action film that has Conor McGregor acting really silly.
Yeah.
He's a loose cannon, and Dalton, who's um, a brooding badass, basically. I think you could have fun with this movie,
I
right?
I would definitely watch it again because
Wyatt says
it
no.
just no.
No, I wouldn't watch
I
this
wouldn't
movie
watch it
again.
again for like, oh, that was a great movie. I would watch it again if someone else was about to be like, I haven't seen this. I want to watch it, and I'll be like, okay, let's watch it. You know?
Yeah,
um,
I don't know that there was the the idea is fun. The execution was so poor that I just I have such an issue with the writing. You can write good dialogue. It's not hard. The premise was there. It was already there with the original. But they stripped Dalton of so many characteristics from the original to make him um more unique that he didn't have enough personality. His personality was I'm nice so that I'm not mean. And I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the writers is Anthony Bagarazzi,
Mhm,
Chuck Mundry, and R. Lance Hill. So the director Doug Lyman wasn't apparently on the writers credits.
mhm,
So, but he directed it. And I think
mhm,
directing wise, if you were to take bad dialogue and make a movie, I mean, he
mhm.
did the
Mhm.
Bourne movies, which are
Oh, another issue. The other biggest issue that I had, the love interest is a horrible character.
what are you
Oh,
talking about?
Mhm.
the nurse.
Why is she a horrible character?
She's okay. She's rude at every turn. She's confrontational. She's she just is. She's there's nothing about her that made me like. I really kind of like her. She's really
Well, she's
interesting, and
hardened.
that's no, she's rude. Dalton's hardened, but he's kind. She's mean, she's confrontational. There's nothing about her that is redeeming in her kindness or anything. The
Why?
girl in the original, she grew up in the
Ellie.
town. She had to
Yeah.
deal with, a lot of this rough stuff, but she's kind and she's,
I'm
caring.
I'm curious. So in the original, the main bad guy was her ex-husband. And
Mhm.
in this one, they added this I guess her tie-in was like her dad was the cop.
Mhm.
Um, but she also had this cop boyfriend that didn't um
Eh,
what was the point of that character except
he had a
for
boat.
yeah, he had a
'Cause he
boat.
had the boat.
They could have come up with some kind of other reasoning why that there was a boat there and
But
not that oh just he has a boat. Then what was that?
But they didn't have him and, Dalton and Ellie didn't have any chemistry. He had chemistry with Frankie, the bar owner. They had
Yeah.
serious, just conversations and good chemistry with each other.
Or
Um,
even and this character is in the original. I'm losing her mind, but the bartender
yeah,
lady.
You're
They
well,
could
losing
she
have
was
her
she was
mind.
annoying too because the first thing he says is, "You guys got black coffee?" She's like, "No, we have Cuban
yeah.
coffee."
Well,
Dude,
That
shut
was
up.
that was cringy. Her name was
That was
Laura.
awful. I hated that.
but her character was that character wasn't original too. Of like she brought him food and stuff too. She kind of became this
Yeah,
friend.
All
but
right, you guys got to stop going back to the original.
We
Freaking,
are
we're
comparing
supposed to
No,
to
be.
no,
the
no. You
original.
have to go
We
back to
have
the original
to.
because this is a remake
This is
of
a
the
You're
different
original.
just
movie.
upset you've
No, it
not
is not.
seen it.
His name is Dalton. It's
Yes.
called the Roadhouse. The
Yeah.
names of the characters are in there. They're pulling their source material is the original movie, and they can't even do that correctly.
A lot
Everything,
of the dialogue was very similar too. They
yeah,
literally pulled from the original. Like
and
when the nurse lady, the love interest says, "Do you ever
Ellie.
win in a fight?" Here and he says like, "No, nobody ever wins in a fight." That's a line literally from the original movie. That's Patrick
yeah,
Swayze's line.
and the exposition dumps, man. When
Mhm.
like he kills that guy by punching him in the throat, and he's like, "Now I'm mad, and I never wanted to become this person because now I'm going goblin mode." And
That
Well, at
feels
least they
gay
did it. They
though.
did it while
That's
a dude is
done.
dying. I
he,
think the worst exposition dump was Ellie explaining the situation when they're in the car.
yeah,
Like, my dad is a corrupt
my
cop,
dad is a
and
corrupt cop, and I have had to grow up with this, and you can
and I
barely
left,
understand
but
what
I
she's
came
saying
back.
because of her accent. And
That was the worst
or
exposition
like,
dump.
oh, it's a roadhouse. We call it the roadhouse because it's a roadhouse.
Clever.
Right? And the only thing that made they said roadhouse so many times. The
Mhm.
only thing that made that scene redeemable was she's like, you can stay on my uncle's boat. Warning, he also named the boat. And then it's called the boat. That's the only thing that made that scene redeemable is how many times they say roadhouse and talk about roadhouse and why it's called the roadhouse.
Freaking, what do you guys think about Dell getting eaten by the alligator?
I really actually thought that was going to come around in the end because they mentioned so many times how
Yeah.
crocodiles hide their
Mhm.
food.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, Conor McGregor is absolutely getting murked by a crocodile.
Yeah.
No, but did you guys see after the credits?
I didn't
No.
know. I didn't.
Okay, so Conor McGregor doesn't die. The end of
No.
the end of the credits is at the hospital, he like is beating people up and he's like in a gown and he does his little arms out walk in a hospital gown with his butt out,
Mm.
just leaving the hospital so he doesn't die from his wounds. He just
No,
gets out
So
of bed
this
and runs
movie was
away.
rated R, but all I think it was rated R for was his butt.
Language in his butt.
there was
That
a lot of violence too,
there's a lot of
and
violence.
cussing.
Yeah, language. That was a
Yeah,
big part.
dude, they really think that when people are when people shout at each other and are hurt, they swear. The swearing felt really corny. And but no, I thought the crocodile thing was going to come back around because they kept saying crocodiles hide their food, and he's like, does everybody know that crocodiles hide their food around here? I thought that either the crocodile was going to get Brant, or
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal becomes the crocodile.
Oh,
Right?
almost like a freaking
Yeah, like he's they're like,
an
legend.
analogy.
no,
What
like
is the word for that?
the villains start disappearing,
Like he's the
and then
crocodile.
somebody's like, yeah, crocodiles hide their food.
Mhm.
And yeah, I thought,
Missed opportunity for the
but
writers.
no, he was
Maybe
the
they did
tree.
subtly.
He
They
was
did
the tree
subtly.
that grows on the bridge.
So I have a question for you guys. So this movie was taken out of theaters, and it's kind of been the controversy around this when
Mhm.
Amazon Prime promised this movie to go to theaters to the director and to Jake, and then they finagled against that because they wanted to put it on their own platform. Do you think you would pay, let's not say a full movie ticket. Well, actually, yeah, it's a movie ticket price. Would you pay a movie ticket price to go see this?
I would have.
I
And I
probably
honestly
would
think
have
it would
to
be
see
like
it,
$12.
look,
but I
I
would have been
probably
sorely disappointed that I
I
wasted
think
my money.
look, I think this movie would have been a tad bit more fun in the theaters. I think the
Yeah.
action of it, I think it would have come across well in theaters.
Yeah.
And the sound mixing and everything. I think there are levels to the sound mixing that we just didn't pick up on. That's super
Oh,
cool in the
I
movie
agree.
because they,
Everything looked good. Like
yeah.
very clear. The visuals looked very good.
So I think it would have been a fun theater movie, but it was meant to be theaters, and it was meant to. Doug Liman called it. This is a party movie. Like this
Ugh,
movie is supposed to be a party, and so if you watched it
feel
in
like a
theaters
party.
and the action came across well with the sound and the big visuals and everything, maybe it would have felt more like a party. Was it taking itself too seriously? But I
One
mean, you
of
got people like Wyatt that's like, this has to be a serious movie.
No, it doesn't have to be a serious movie. It has to be you have to take the content, you have to take what you are doing seriously. Whether you're writing a comedy or a romance, you have to take what you're doing seriously and write good characters and good dialogue and good story. You really they just didn't do any of that.
I
About the middle of the second act, I was like, this is still all right. This is still okay. But then it gets into the end of the movie, and honestly, when I first watched the original Roadhouse, the third act of the movie is where it fell apart for me. I was like,
Yeah, yeah. So it's
I
on par with the original.
I didn't want this to become an action movie. But it did, and I was disappointed in that when I watched it. This one does the same thing, except it's bad from the beginning as well.
No, I'm disagreeing with Wyatt on this. I'm gonna be the other
All
end
right,
of the argument.
we do got to move on, so hurry up and finish up your
Okay.
thoughts.
I'm gonna say that although it was not a perfect movie, and I'm not giving it anything over a 5 out of 10, I'm still giving it a 5 out of 10 because there was things that I kind of liked in it, and they weren't great things. They were just fun things.
Yeah, but for me, things I kind of like isn't enough to make a movie good.
I'm not saying it was good. I'm saying it was a 5 out of 10. I'm not saying it was a 7 out of 10.
So that's a bad movie.
No, because you said it was a 2 or 3.
Yeah. No, that's a bad movie.
It was a 5 out of 10, and I disagree.
I mean, there's things I like in The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
There's things I like in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but they're still bad shows. It's not a good movie, and it's
All right.
it's disappointing.
Yeah, you're right. It is definitely disappointing because you want a movie like this to be like an 8. Make it fun, make it
Yeah,
awesome like, Top Gun Maverick
Top
was.
Gun Maverick, or
But
John
it
Wick
just
or
wasn't,
something. Bullet
and
Train.
you put it at a 2, me and Josh will put it at a 5, and we'll sit there comfortably.
Hmm.
Real quickly before we end, I want to ask the question, do we think the Rings of Powers
Ah,
is actually going to
ugh.
make it to 5 seasons? Because they're slated to do
I
5
don't think so.
seasons. They've started working on writing for season 3 before season 2 is even out.
Season
There's
2,
rumors, so there's confirmation they got the rights to all 5 of the wizards, including
Yeah.
Gandalf,
boo.
so they can confirm that character was Gandalf, which we've touched on in previous
Oof.
podcasts. But there's also rumors that they have gotten secretly the rights to the Silmarillion,
Ooh.
the show rights to the Silmarillion. So, do you think with the amount of hatred the first season got, it doesn't matter? All these articles keep touting that this was the highest viewed Amazon Prime show it's ever had. And maybe the first couple episodes was, but not the whole season. When we see the drop off in season 2, especially in season 3, is it actually going to make it to 5 seasons? Is the real question I wanted to quickly touch
I
on here.
I think they cancel it after 2 or 3.
Okay,
I
Joshua.
think they might make a 4th season, but yeah, they're not making it.
The budget's dropping significantly, though.
Yeah, they'll keep going in. It's gonna get worse and worse with every season. But I don't think they'll make it to 5.
Do you think there's any? I think after you made that first season, there's no coming back from that. But do you think there's any chance
That they try to course correct?
if they have the rights to the Silmarillion and some more source material,
They
is
might
there
try
any
to
chance in the world that they actually get more book
They might
accurate?
try to course correct, but the issue is that season 2 is still going to be the same stuff as season 1, so it won't be course correcting in season 2.
No, and the timeline's way off, right?
Yeah, it would have to be course correcting in season 3, and I don't know that they'll make it past season 2.
So you think that the work they're prepping for now is in vain?
Yeah, even if they're course correcting for season 3 and season 4 or whatever, it's unknowable if those are even going to be made.
Yeah, I think
They'll definitely make
I
it
agree
season
with
3.
you. I do not think they're making it to 5 seasons. I don't think Amazon wants to dish out the money for something that they
If
clearly.
they do, their budget is going down significantly.
I don't know if they're making it to 5 seasons. I just don't. Especially like that last season or season 2 or 3, whatever it was, of Wheel of Time. Nobody talked about that. Nobody watched it. And I think if they get those kind of numbers on the next season or 2, they're just going to stop. Amazon doesn't want to dish out all this money for something that nobody's
apparently
watching.
They do. Apparently
They have
Yeah.
well, they have fake data right now because they think they know people didn't like it, but they think that they'll keep getting numbers
Right.
moving forward, and that's just not going to happen because I'm going to watch season 2 because we're going to create videos on it, but I'm not going to. I already know it's going to be horrible. I already know it's going to be as bad, if not worse, than the first season.
Right.
It's just going to be absolutely shameful, and there's no way that this has longevity for 5 seasons.
I don't think so. People would have had to really, really like it. And even the people that liked it weren't like, yeah, it's incredible. They were like, it was okay.
So if they
gotta
did
have more
5
than that.
seasons, at the current budget, their predictions, or I guess they would be called, what do you
Projections.
call projections? Yeah, that with 5 seasons, Amazon will sink about $1 billion into this franchise. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Not at all. That's way too much money to lose. I don't think they're going to make up $1 billion worth of subscribers to Amazon Prime or whatever it is that they're doing. And I also just don't think that the woke nature of Rings of Power is going to have sustainability over the next 2 years. I think Hollywood is going to crash and burn, and they're going to realize the only stuff that's successful is not super woke things. And they're going to either pivot, or these studios are going to go out of business, as we're seeing Paramount losing tons of money and firing and downsizing, and Disney's on the precipice of doing the exact same thing, right? So yeah, I think we all kind of agree. I don't think they're making 5 seasons of the show.
No.
But later this year, we are still slated to get season 2, which is going to be a wild ride.
Wow.
Yeah,
Insane.
I mean, they definitely. So they've got 2 more seasons, I think, for sure. Before they're gonna pull any plugs, but nobody is gonna like it, and people will talk about it because it's the hot topic. But that's all. People are just gonna talk about it because talking about it, they're not gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be popular for how bad it is, just like the first one is. Luckily, they're not doing a release simultaneously with House of the Dragon, so at least they won't have that competition. But it was kind of nice in the first 2 seasons of the first season of both of those shows to see the stark difference between something that's good and something that's horrible. And that's it. That's the podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Did you guys happen to see all the trailers that's coming out?
There's a lot of them.
We're getting a bit of stuff.
I think we're gonna. By the time this podcast is out publicly, we've already done it. But I think we're gonna need to do a big batch recording of
It's gonna be fun.
trailer reactions and breakdowns and such, because there's so many things. So a lot of good, a lot of bad that's coming out that you can already tell is bad. And they're doing a heavy push for that new Godzilla Kong movie.
Yeah,
that's gonna be the worst movie ever.
Yep.
It's gonna be so freaking horrible.
It's gonna be so bad. Godzilla doesn't run like this.
He doesn't? Oh, I thought he did.
He's a dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean,
The dinosaur. He runs like this. Why is he like Usain Bolt?